back to another video inside Bee Swarm Simulator. Today I'm going to be showing you the White Hive guide. So, without further ado, let's go right into it. First off, I'm going to start with the bees in the hive. So, for a white hive, you will need, you'll need a gifted basic bee. This is essential to every hive because of the times 1.2 pollen. Every hive needs this bee because it multiplies how much pollen they get by 20% or times 1.2. So it is a really good bee to have in the hive. Make sure you have this bee. Next, you need one gifted brave bee for the 1 bee attack, which will help with your star saw. It will help quite a lot with your star saw and like how much it converts. If you don't have star saw, you don't need this bee. Just for when you do have star saw, you need to keep this bee. You don't need a bomber bee. While you think you might need a bomber bee because it's like one of the most iconic white bees, same with the demo bee, you do not need the bomb pollen because it does not help with your gummy star, and it also fills your bag up like way too quickly, which you might think is a good thing, but no, it's not very good because you use up all your micros and then you have no macros, so then your boost is terrible. So you don't need all these bees. Now you're supposed to have a gifted hasty bee. Now I swap mine out, which I'll tell you for later, because I just fought the sun snail. So this hive slot can change depending on what you're doing in the game. But if you're boosting, get a hasty bee. You need one looker bee for the 25% critical power. You don't need it as much anymore because On It has nerfed it. It used to be 50, now it's 25, so that's a pretty drastic nerf, but I think it is worth the hive slot just to have that. And also the focus is good to have for the critical hits. Next up, you need one gifted stubborn bee for the 1.5 times gifted colors, and also the 20% ability token lifespan and the mark. So all that, because the token lifespan makes it easier to run and hit all your marks, because you constantly need marks in the field. Next up, you don't need all this, you need a commander bee for the focus and also the 3% critical chance. But basically focus is a good thing for every hive needs focus. So once again, like the looker bee, there should be in some of everyone's hives should have this in their hive pretty much. So yeah, every hive needs the focus, so just keep the commander bee. One. And then this is very important to have, the exhausted bee. Now these bees, the token link is very important to have, so you can pick up all your tokens with just one token, you know how the token link works. And also the 20% white field capacity will help with your micro, because white, and along with red, white consumes quite a lot of micro converters, so you gotta watch out for that. So the 20% white field capacity is amazing. Next off, one of the most iconic bees and one of the most important bees to a white hive is the honeybee, because this doesn't double it, but it's times 1.5 honey from tokens. So when your gummy star drops, pops and says 1 trill gummy star, then this will be 1.5 trill. So is really important to have. Is one of the most needed bees in a white hive, even though you might not expect it. Next up is a gifted rage bee, because you need the one gifted attack, or 1 bee attack, to help with your star saw and how much the star saw converts. So you need 1 gifted rage bee. Next up, you need 1 gifted shocked bee for the 25% white pollen and the haste and the tokening. This is really important. The 25% white pollen is really important to a white hive. So yeah, you must need. This is a must-have in a white hive as well. Next up, you need 1 gifted baby bee for the 25% loot luck, for the 1.5 boost from your gummy star, and the baby love is very important too because it doubles your pollen. So this is a really good bee. Basically, you want 4 sources of baby love in your hive. If you do want, you can just have 4 tadpoles, but I think having 3 gifted tadpoles and 1 gifted baby bee is the way to run your white hive. Next up is carpenter bee. Now you need about 4 or 5 gifted carpenters so that you get this honey mark here, which will convert. But essentially, if you're changing to white hive and you didn't have enough honey, because I had bad luck on SSA, it's like blue, but instead of bumblebees, it's carpenter bees. So if you can't afford all the vectors, then just replace the slots that will be a vector with carpenter bee. So, but you need 4 to 5 gifted carpenter bees for this hive to run. Next up is 1 lion bee. This is really important for the 2 colorless bee attack, because pretty much every bee in your hive is colorless. So the add 2 will help drastically with your star saw, and also the attack's good to have. So you need 1 gifted lion bee. Next up, you need 4 sources of melody in your hive. So if you go here to bee equip case, you need these things called toy horns that give melody. See, I have 2, but that means they give a source of melody. So that means I only need 2 music bees. Whereas if you only have 1 toy horn, you have 3, and then if you have none, you have 4. So after you get your music bees, you're going to need 1 gifted shy bee for the 5% bee ability pollen for your vector bee triangles, which will make them give 5% more. It also is good to have the passive of the nectar sip, because it will give you more nectar, and also make the plant to grow faster, which is a win-win. Now moving on to mythics. If you want, you can have a buoyant bee, or if you want, you can swap out for a vector bee. It's your choice. I would say keep a buoyant bee, but only if it's gifted for the extra capacity. Then you're gonna need, like every hive, essential 2 or 3 gifted fuzzy bees for the pollen haze ability. But if you have an alt with a fuzzy hive, I'd recommend only having 2 and sometimes even dropping it down to 1. It depends. Next up, you need I would recommend having 3 precise bees. But if you want and you have the petal wand, which is this collector here, you can drop it down to just 1. Make sure they're all gifted too for the bonus on the target practice. But you only really need 1 if you have the petal wand. And of course the gummy ball is extremely expensive. So if you can afford that, then yeah, go for it. You do not need a spicy bee. I just have it there because it's a spare. Now, as I said, going back to the baby bee, you need 4 sources of baby love in your hive. So if you have one gifted baby bee, then you can have 3 tadpole bees. If you want 2 baby bees, you can have 2 tadpoles, so on and so forth. You can have 4 tadpoles if you want. You have to all be gifted. Otherwise, there's no point in having them in your hive, because you only want them for the baby love, really. Is the most iconic, the most important bee in a white hive. This expands your gummy star so much. But this is a vector bee, so make sure they are all gifted. And I would recommend having around, oh wait, where did it go? I'd recommend having around 18 to 20 vector bees for the triangulate. Obviously I'm not a full white hive, so I still have 11 carpenters. So kind of just swap out every slot that you don't need as a carpenter until you then eventually change them to vectors, and just keep a couple carpenters. So yeah. Next up, event bees. You need 1 gifted bear bee for the 10% pollen and the bear morph. As you can see right here, it changes you into a bear and doubles your pollen, which is really good, and this is probably, in my opinion, the best bee in the game. Next up, you can either swap it out for a vector or keep the festive bee. I'm keeping it because I like the festive gift. It's handy when your backpack's filled up and you have Starsaw active, and then you get it, and then your backpack goes back down again. So you don't need to use a micro, but basically it's good to have, and I would recommend keeping it, but you can swap it out for a vector if you want. Next up, gummy bee. This is once again one of the most important bees in a white hive for the goo, and also for this thing on the gummy mask. The way it works is, basically, each time you use a gum drop, it will increase by 1, but each gummy bee ability, it will increase by 3 points. So you do need that, and what I recommend doing is coming and getting your bitter berries, and then trying to get a bee ability mutation on your gummy bee. As you see, I have failed to do that, but yeah, so you do need the bee multi rate mutation on it, which will be really good for it. Next up, 1 photon bee. This needs to be gifted, and for the haste, and the beam storm is cool, but you really don't need it. But the 5% instant conversion is handy to have, and also that 1.5 on the gummy star is for every single white bee type that's gifted too. So, but you can also change this bee. This is kind of like the festive bee. You can change it out for a vector bee if you want. Next up is poppy bee. You only keep this bee if you are leveling up your hive. Once you're about level 17 or 18, you don't need this bee. Just get rid of it. It's the worst event bee. Just get rid of it. Next up, tabby bee. This is really good. This is the best. This is like one of the best bees in the game as well. It is really good once you get the 1,000 tabby love. You get like millions, sometimes billions of honey from its scratch. And if you come down here and look at its convert rate, look at that. 533,000 in 5.1 seconds, which is really good. Like, compared to most bees, it's just a couple, like tens of thousands, but this is, yeah, it's a lot. Anyway, moving on. So this is your hive slot that you change between vicious if you're doing for just everyday use, and then when you're boosting, switch it out for a gifted hasty bee. It's not that much. It doesn't cost that much, so just it will make that difference. So it'll probably make 3 billion to change it roughly, back to a hasty bee, and then that hasty bee will help you make 3 million and make even more later on, so later in the boost, so that was better. And then this bee, the windy bee, this is really important because of this white boost token. This is the only bee that gives this token in the game. Well, it does eat up your haste, and I wouldn't recommend it for most hives. White hives definitely need it for the white boost. And also, also try and get it gifted for the 15% instant white conversion, which is really good. And that is it for the bees. Moving on, we have amulets. So, pretty much any amulet you have, you want to get, try and get honey from tokens, white bee or bee attack, and white field pollen, and then goo conversion or goo. Those are the main ones you need. I'll leave them up on the screen now. As you can see, my amulets aren't perfect at all, but amulets are, most people think they are not important, but they actually are a really important factor in the game. So make sure you have the right amulets for your right color. So as you can see, my amulets aren't perfect. Moving on to SSA, you want Gummy Star and Star Saw. There's no two ways about this. You can run solo Gummy, but it's not good. You'll only make like 100 bill, 200 bill a boost, whereas you can make trillions of honey with Star Saw. So you need the Star Saw with it. And it would be cool to add like a Gummy Star on top of that, but you can't get that, unfortunately. So it'll have to be Gummy Star and Star Saw, or Gummy Saw for short. Moving on, obviously you need the Gummy Mask out of the 3. Another basic thing, the nectars. So if I go to the nectar pot, you can see a bunch of satisfying nectar is stored in there, and also I've got some satisfying nectar at hand right now. So satisfying nectar is really important because it gives white pollen, honey per pollen, and honey at hive. So you need satisfying nectar. I also sometimes have invigorating nectar for the convert rate, which will help with Star Saw, and the bee attack, which will also help with Star Saw. So invigorating nectar helps with Star Saw, but you don't really need much nectar for white, which is pretty nice. Here's the most annoying part about white. Pretty much, well, if you go and check here, you need to there's no in between. So for a blue, you can use a blue extract, or I don't have one, but a purple potion, and then you can also use a super smoothie. But as white, you can only use a tropical drink or a super smoothie. So you have to kind of go, do you want a really terrible boost, but do you want a really good boost? But the thing about super smoothies are you can't consistently craft them without them eating up all your materials, because they are really expensive to craft. So that's one annoying thing. And 2, most white hives will run out of gumdrops, so make sure you come down here and go and buy some gumdrops. You generally need about 400 to boost this white hive, so you have to spend 200 tickets or so to try and get the gumdrops. Well, here's some tips for when you're in the field. So say I'm in the spider field, I just gotta kill this mob, and let me get up some of my marks. You gotta try and stretch out these triangles while staying in your marks. So none of my marks are here, are my marks are finally popping up. But basically, you just need to stay in your marks and use shift lock and just kind of stay in the marks and try and expand the thing as much as possible. Also, make sure you need people helping you boost, and they need to have gumdrops and they're willing to use their gumdrops and throwing jelly beans, because white, you do need someone to throw gumdrops. One person dropping gumdrops in the field isn't enough. So when you're boosting white,
don't expect to boost solo and make a lot, because solo boosts for white are the worst color to be. So without that being said, that's all the tips I have to give for white. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys all next time. Goodbye.